Cake! Now I have the cake ingredients. I have collected them all in one place so I can see them. And they are all there. Yes, good. Now I'm looking at my feet. I'm wearing little feeties because I'm not using knives. And little leggies because there is no hot liquids. But I'm wearing clothes. Yes, I'm still wearing clothes because we're making a video. And now, the rack is slightly too high. We want it a little bit below the middle because the cake is afraid of heights. Yes, it will be safe in there. At the top it is burny. I'm indicating the burny regions. Yes, we are preheating the oven. We'll put it on the bake or the fan bake. Either is an option. You can use fan bake for more even cooking if you have more than one thing in the oven. But we have decided not to use fan bake. Also, you should put it slightly lower temperature if you use fan bake. Otherwise your things will burn. Now we have tins. Tins for our cake. Very important. There are thin, small tins and we're putting butter in them. I'm showing you 2 ways to grease your cake houses with margarine or butter, and then flour. This way is shitter. You will see later. You will see. Yes, empty the flour. The other way is to put a circle of greaseproof paper in and use butter to stick it down a little bit, just a tiny smear. You can grease the sides too. Now we put sugar in a bowl, 2 of your earth cups of sugar for sweetness, and flour. Here's some flour. I used a Misk combination of shitty gluten-free flours, which I don't recommend. Use real flour, or use a bread mix or a flour mix, and cocoa, which we're spooning in carefully because it goes all over the fucking place. If you're feeling really enthusiastic, you can put all of this stuff into a sieve instead. That will make less lumps happen. And now we have baking powder and baking soda. They do slightly different things, but both cause your cake to rise and be fluffy. And so we have premixed the dry things a little, and now we are making a happy pond for the wet ingredients to live in. Here's how you crack an egg. You tap, tap, tap while rotating it a little bit. Gently tap, so you get a kind of long running crack, hopefully across the middle like that. And then once you have it like that, you can pull the 2 pieces apart from the crack with your hands, or you can use one hand if you're fancy. Adding some milk for, I guess, liquidness. You could probably just use water and oil. Oil tends to make the cake moist, and salt, which doesn't make the cake salty, just more cake-like. And then we're going to stir it in. If you have an electric beater, go ham on it here. If you don't, then you're just going to have to use your own hands. This is okay for a cake like this, which says just shove everything in a bowl, basically. If your cake recipe has a lot of cream the butter and sugar until pale and fluffy, or whip the egg whites to soft peaks and then fold in, then you probably do want to use a real beater, or you may just not get enough air in. But this cake is mainly relying on the baking soda and baking powder, I think, to rise. Those lumps there, we wouldn't have those if I'd bothered to use a sieve, but also, like, it doesn't really matter, like, it's okay. Now that that's all mixed in, we're adding a cup of water. I left it till last because I thought it would be easier to get rid of the lumps if the mixture was thick rather than really super runny. Now we're carefully mixing it in, hopefully without splashing ourselves. We'll see. In the left you can see the scales that I did not use. And now our mud swamp is homogenizing slowly. Homogenize the cake. Tasty. Some cakes require folding. This is not folding. This is just hitting it with a spoon, whatever the fuck way you want. Later I will tell you about folding if we care. There you go, look at that. The water's kind of going in now. Still some lumps. We can smash them against the side, but mostly they'll dissolve. Now we're pouring them in the tins. Generally, don't pour it more than maybe like 3/4 or 2/3 of the way up your cake tin, because it will rise a lot. And also, you want to pick the correct combination or number of cake tins or jars or pyrex dishes or whatever, to make sure that it's no more than 2 or 3 fingers deep. Otherwise, it will be soggy in the middle still while your edges are burning. I didn't bother to scrape the bowl because I'm a lazy fuck. Now we're checking that we put everything in, and we did. Good job, us. Yep, we put it all in, and we can see that the oven is at temperature because the light is gone off. When you move it slightly higher, it's like, oh no, I'm heating, but now it's not. So we're putting the cake in the oven. Good luck, friends. Good luck, cake. I'll miss you in there in your cake house. So we're checking in on the cake. It's been about 10 minutes. And you can see like a crust has slightly formed on top. But look at that wee ripple. The camera can't focus for shit. But we're going to shake it a little. Look at how it bloop, bloop, bloops. Yeah, see, that's going to need like at least another 10 minutes. Or if it was a cupcake, maybe like another 5 minutes to cook. Now we've come back after about 15, I think, more minutes was what it took in the end. And our skewer is, we're testing it with a skewer. See, it's like lightly, there's still a bit of stuff on there, so the cake's going to be moist, but like it's not like really wet or really streaky, which means it's more or less done, basically. It's pretty forgiving. Like, you don't have to get it exactly like this. Just like, as long as it's, you know, kind of spongy, a little like that, and basically solid. If you leave it a little bit less, it'll just be a bit more moist, a bit more like dense and cakey. And if you leave it a bit longer, it might be a little dry. It's fine. And then after, like 3 hours or so, we put the rack on the cake and we grip both at once so that the cake is all supported, so it doesn't like come half out of the pan at a time. And we flip it. We flip it. Yeah, see, like it's nicely ensconced there, so you're not having like half the cake fall out and then rip off if part of it is stuck in there. And it's not coming out. We hit it some more, and the cake really doesn't want to leave its tin, which probably means the sides are a little bit stuck because we didn't grease them super well. So we're just gonna get like a thing and loosen the sides. If you use like a metal knife, make sure to use like the back so that the sharp bit doesn't scrape up your nice tin. And then we'll try it again. And you will see in a second why the baking paper method turned out to be superior. Maybe because it's gluten-free flour, maybe because I didn't grease and flour it enough, but yeah, like the paper just comes off. But in the case of the greased and flour one, unfortunately, it broke a little, as you will see now. Oh yeah, look at that. But that's okay, because we're just going to basically bodge it together with icing. And nobody will know. So get like a spoon or 2 of margarine or butter. It doesn't really matter how much. That's about right, you know. This will make like a little bit of a bowl of icing. And then stick in the microwave. Maybe like 10 or 20 seconds or 30 or 40 seconds on like medium power. Shove in some icing sugar, good few wallops of it. Spoon it in, and then like really mix it in. You can see it's like still quite buttery, so we're going to add a bit more icing sugar and also a bit of water or milk. That will make it less, like a little bit more runny, but not like too greasy almost, you know? Yeah, so like we're adding some more icing sugar, just some more icing sugar now, and you kind of see that like it's no longer as runny, but it's like a little bit too stiff. There we go. That's quite runny. Add a little bit of vanilla, maybe actually not that much, and a spoon of cocoa. And both the vanilla and the cocoa I had were quite like low quality, and I found like one of them gave the icing a slightly weird aftertaste. So I didn't recommend those, but that's a good texture for the top of a cake. Look at that, like it's gloppy, it's pretty runnable. Like over time, it's gonna like sink down. That's good for like some basic icing. If you're gonna do like shapes pipe it on, make words or anything like that. Or even if you just want it to be a little bit stiffer and more classy and a wee bit thicker as well, like more icing on your cake, you probably want to add a good few teaspoons more of icing, but that's like another whole, I could make another whole fucking video about icing. I don't know. So we're gonna like stick some icing in the bits where it came off. Doesn't have to cover it. We're just getting a approximate coating, and you can see like the bits where the cake is torn. It's quite hard to move the knife on. That's where our cup full of hot water that we can rinse our knife in is really handy, because it makes the icing slide off. Anyway, so we've done that. We've covered it with icing, and now we're just gonna smack this on top. This cake's a little bit tall for the way I don't know, it's a little weird, but whatever, here it is. And we've iced it! Wow, look at that! Beautiful icing. If we'd made more icing, we could have put some on the sides. But if we were going to put some on the sides, I'd probably recommend like trimming the sides slightly as well, so that they're straight up and down rather than a kind of weird hourglass shape with a gap, and that's where you might want to use like thicker icing rather than kind of runny icing. So maybe this cake we should have made one cake tall rather than two, but that's okay. Pretty much the easiest way to decorate a cake is to just sprinkle shit on it, whether that's sprinkles, coconut, or icing sugar. If you have like a random shape, that can be real helpful. Like I'm filling up this dinosaur with coconut, shaking it around, and then we have a dinosaur. Or if you have like a pretty doily or something, you can sprinkle icing sugar on it. Again, a sieve will make it a lot more uniform. If you do use icing sugar, do it when the icing is kind of cold, kind of dried out of it, and you're just about to serve it. Otherwise, it will soak in and disappear. So that's our cake. We made it. Hooray! Good job. Cake, 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 cake,